Hey, I'm Terrence,
And I'm Sheena.
and you're watching Unwind These Lines.
Join us as we talk about life, relationships, and everything else in between. How are you today?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm great, or tonight, I should say.
Tonight, definitely night.
Yes.
Tired.
Always, but such is life. It's better to be tired and alive than, I guess, to be in that eternal sleep.
Wow, that was heavy.
It was heavy starting off.
It was real heavy. But I guess
Yes.
that brings us to the show. Thank you guys for joining us. This is our first show.
It is.
Yeah. How you feeling?
I feel great.
Excited?
I am, I guess. I am excited. I have to speak with more confidence. I am excited.
Good. Good. Well, I'm excited too, and I'm glad that you guys are here to join us and listen to what we have to say. Welcome to our show. My name is Terrence.
And I'm Sheena.
And we're going to be talking about various topics on this channel here. We just want to, open up some lines of communication between ourselves and to you guys, our guests. So different themes and topics such as current events, relationship goals,
Yes.
And different things that maybe it's investing or just things that we think is important and that we talk about when we're laying our head down in the bed, getting ready for sleep. We sometimes just babble and talk to each other.
Our random thoughts. Yes.
Yes. With some intentional talks. So this is what we're trying to do today, is just to bring you some of this this conversation, and hopefully will help you as much as it hopefully helps us through this process.
Are you ready to unwind these lines?
All these lines of communication. So again, thanks for joining us. So today's topic, our first topic, is none other than fear. Dun, dun, dun. So fear is one of those topics that I think it's important to talk about. It's I think we did a poll right before we started this video, and we asked a group of our friends on social media, what are you fearful of? Do you remember some of those things that we talked about?
Yeah, I mean, we named aging, getting older is a fear. Lack of accomplishments as a fear. Loss was a really big one, and it wasn't just loss as we all may instantly think of life itself, but also loss of your job, housing, and whatnot. And then we sort of left it open to see if there was anything else. Money is also a big thing too.
Yeah.
To see if there was anything else that people were fearful of. And I think we touched upon all the different aspects of it. There was one that was brought up by one of our friends, which I happened to think about, and we discussed it some time ago, especially with how things are going, career track, lifestyle, and so forth. And that was fear of success. And so I definitely want to touch upon that sometime tonight in our discussion, because I think that's a really good one too. So
yeah. So let me just kind of set the premise right now. This is pretty much unscripted. We have the ideas of the different topics we want to talk about. And then from there, we just have an open conversation and just express how we feel about a certain situation or a certain theme or topic. And we just decided to do fear because of what's going on right now. Depending on when you watch this video, we're right in the midst of coronavirus and the pandemic. It's 2020. It's April. Start of April.
Actually, it's May.
Wow. It's May. It's May 5th, actually.
It's actually May 6th.
Wow. May 6th. All right. So.
It's all right.
Yeah.
That just goes to show how much quarantine, like what the quarantine is doing to you when you're not getting out and about. And being in the house. Not that you should stay in, because of course we want everyone to be safe and practice social distancing, but it just goes to show how much of a loss of track of time.
I'm still on the fact that I was off by months and off by days.
It's just the lack of time being in quarantine. It's okay. So fear.
I'm getting hot. This is the first episode, y'all. This is the first episode. Anyways,
Fear.
all right, okay. Fear. Let's fear.
Yeah.
So, it's an important topic right now. Coronavirus in our midst. It's a pandemic season right now, and we thought it's appropriate to talk about, the elephant in the room, which is fear, what we're all fearful of. So this conversation, I think it should be just about all fear in general, but we'll narrow it down to the environment we're in. But, and then hopefully towards the end, maybe we can give, the audience or our guests our thoughts on how maybe we can handle fear or treat any kind of fearness or anxiety or anything like that. So why don't you start us off? What are you fearful of? What do you fear?
So before I even get into what it is that I fear, why don't we break it down and talk about the definition of fear itself? What does fear actually mean?
Okay. Well, I think a quick Google search will say, I'm reading from my phone. Oh, you guys can see it. Nice. Fear, and don't mind my ugly case. Fear is an unpleasant feeling triggered by the perception of danger, real or imagined.
Wow.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
When you actually read the definition. Unpleasant feeling triggered by the perception of danger, real or imagined. So what does fear mean to you?
Wow. I mean, I think fear means all of that. I mean, thinking that I'm in danger, whether it's real or imagined, I think sometimes our imagination can really take a toll and, go on, these wonders, and we feel this way. I don't think that fear necessarily, that danger has to be presented necessarily for fear, which earlier I said about the fear of lack of accomplishments or the fear of lack of, the fear of being successful. Those things aren't necessarily danger, but there's still this feeling of fear that's behind it, meaning there's still this feeling of unknown. Because, and I think where fear comes from is this feeling of just unknown, of not knowing what's on the other side. What's on the other side of that success? What's on the other side of that thought process? What's on the other side of that decision? And that, because we can't see it, is what creates fear, I feel like, in us.
Got it.
Or at least to me.
Yeah. I think for me, I take it on from a evolutionary kind of, standpoint or perspective, in the sense that fear, I think, is something that is necessary to an extent. I feel like fear, back in caveman days or whatever you believe, a saber-toothed tiger is out there. You're fearful because that animal can shred you to pieces. And the purpose of you living is to procreate and live on, and your genes live on. So I think from an evolutionary standpoint, fear is a real thing that is meant to keep us safe. And I think how our brains have evolved is that any kind of danger, real or perceived, even if we hear a roar, it could just be a rock moving in the cave, and it's nothing that we should be fearful of. We automatically assume that could possibly be danger, and we need to fight or flight, escape. And that has kept us alive for thousands of years. But what I understand, or what I think is, we have evolved to a point where now our brain still has that mechanism, although we as a society has gotten more secure, more safe, but our brain hasn't yet evolved to that point where little things we are fearful of.
Yeah.
It's still ingrained in us, and I think that real thing can still be there, like a car coming at you.
Yeah.
You're fearful of that speed or whatnot, versus if we're doing virtual reality and it's a car coming at you, we know we have on the 3D glasses, but it still gets our heart racing and we're fearful of what can possibly happen, even if we know we're in a 3D world. A virtual world. So
and I understand that, but what you're saying also triggers for me to think about, because you said a lot of brain, how our brain waves work and how we perceive things. And you also said automatic and so forth. And that makes me think, is fear something that is taught? Is fear something that is sort of put in us for us to feel the way? Because you have some people that, say that they're fearless people and that they're not afraid of things and that they, get a thrill or taking risk, or they thrive on, just living and not being, afraid of the unknown. So as a child, when we're told not to do things, and not all the time explain why, but when we're told not to do this or not to do that, especially coming from someone that is an adult figure who we're listening to, are we then taking on that perception and tactic of fear, and then that is what's creating the perception of it? Or is it literally that our brain is just saying you're in danger and you need to have that flight versus, fight mode?
That's a great point. I think it's both.
Okay.
I think it's nature, meaning like our evolution and genetics and all that good stuff. And then I think there's a little bit of nurture of where it's a learned like habit.
Okay.
So, I think of like the typical we're afraid of the dark growing up. Usually when you're a child, I mean, you came out of the womb, it's dark inside there.
Yeah.
At what point does darkness become something we fear? I think, is it because our brain kicks in and we understand this is darkness, or is it because we hear little noises in the dark, or we take on certain things from others, like, oh, why do you have the lights off? You could hit into something, or or a little brother or older brother or sister might say, be scared of the boogeyman kind of thing. So I think it's both. I think it's a little bit of both. But to that definition, we just got to be careful about understanding what's real and what's imagined, and try to separate the two to kind of figure out, is this a genuine fear, or is this kind of like, is it necessary or not?
Well, also what I thought about with you talking is that fear, I feel like, just from hearing what you're saying, it made me feel that fear is also the reason why, when you brought the example about being afraid in the dark when we're in the womb and we're in this dark place versus when we are actually now out in the earth, outside of the womb, and we still have this dark place, but now we are fearful of it. And that just made me feel like that fear becomes something, you become fearful of something when the blinders are off. That when you are now aware of things. Because as a child, when you're little, parents may always say, oh my goodness, they're so not reckless, they're so daredevils, and they'll just go out and do anything, and they're having fun, or if they fall, don't make it a big deal, just carry on. And so as a child, they don't understand or know that this is something that I should not do. This is something that I, that can possibly put me in danger, because they're not taught of what those dangers are. So I feel like, okay, as I get older, and now I'm more aware of what this can possibly do to me, or how this can possibly impact me, I now am putting in these fear receptors into my, thought process. And now that's starting to alter my perception of things. I don't know. I just feel like fear is when you start to become more aware, which, makes me think of the things that I'm afraid of and why am I afraid of them.
All right, so that's a good segue. What are you afraid of?
As I've gotten older, as I'm getting older, because I'm still young.
Right, you said it like 5 times. As I gotten older.
I'm still young.
You're still young, child.
But as I'm getting older, we talk about how aging is one of those things that people can be afraid of. And I was so afraid to hit 30. Now, I'm not saying that I'm 30, but I was so afraid to hit 30. I'm not going to tell you my age, but I'm over 30. I was so afraid of hitting 30 because I just felt like when I turned 30 that, oh my gosh, I need to take life seriously, and that this is the turning point of my life now. And when I hit 30, it was it was a whirlwind of a year.
Mm-hmm.
But as I've gotten older, I feel like I'm just more cautious of things and cognizant of things, and now I'm reevaluating life and things that I am doing or I'm not doing. And so then that makes me think about the lack of my accomplishments, or you know, in the last year we've had so much death, and I think about, as I get older, death is inevitable. One day I'm going to die, and doing things to make sure I don't die. And you know, I think I'm fearful of the traditional things that people would normally be fearful of: age, lack of accomplishments, you know, loss of death, job, money, and then also being fearful of success.
There's a lot right there.
That is a lot, and I feel
I
like
can talk about what I'm fearful of, but I think we need to unpack a lot of that right now.
I know, but you know what? I just feel like you know what? It's just so, there's just so much going on.
All right, so we don't have to harp on it right now.
Yeah.
Like just like age, right?
Yeah.
Why was getting older a fear of yours? Specifically just age, not death, not anything, just age. Why is getting older
The fear?
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, like as you get older, there's more responsibilities that you have. I can no longer sort of cling on to mommy and daddy and think that mommy and daddy is going to fix the problems and that everything is going to go away and that, you know, I have someone else that can do this for me. I now am in control, and I now am the one who's driving my life, right? But also just thinking about, where am I going? What am I destined to do? What is my purpose here? And trying to all, you know, unpack that and figure that out, because I don't want to leave this earth thinking that I haven't done everything that I should, or I haven't done it to the best of which I should have done it. And so getting older just means that now that's another year that I'm older, and it makes me, you know, reflect on my life and what I have done for the past year or the past years. And as time keeps going, because time doesn't stop for anyone, right? I just can't help but to reflect on, what am I doing? Where am I going? You know?
I think, yeah, I agree. I mean, getting older was one of my fears too.
Yeah.
But like as I've gotten older, and got the grays in the beard,
Yeah.
I started kind of just thinking about it a little bit and being a little bit more introspective and just trying to think about why. You know, why am I afraid of getting older? I mean, I know folks that are older than us that are living their best life right now.
Very true.
Right? And,
very true.
And then I really think about it, and I was like, to your point, things that you, like you mentioned, I think is what maybe a lot of folks struggle with. Myself included. I've gotten a little better at it, I think, but you know, I think it's not really the age. I feel like it's not really, like what you just said is not like how I'm hearing it. It's like, it's not like you're getting older and you're scared of getting older.
Yeah.
I feel like it's fear of regrets. Fear of not living to your potential.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm hearing more of.
And that probably would go more towards lack of accomplishments, but I'm getting older.
Right. So like I think what we do, I don't want to say but what we do, I feel like, is we put a timeline on when those things should come to fruition. And age is just that natural progression that brings us to that point where we're like, okay, I'm 35 now, or
it's
I'm
a reminder.
40.
It's a reminder, like this is where you are in life.
I didn't hit $2 million in total net worth yet.
Right.
What the frig am I doing? You know what I mean? Like what? 45. Mark Zuckerberg had this at like 20. So and we start to, you know, it's the fear of that regret, and then time keeps progressing and it's not waiting for anyone. So you just start to feel like, I don't want to get older. It's not you don't want to get older. It's just like the regret keeps building and building and building as you get older, because you think, I should have accomplished it. Am I procrastinating? And then to your point where you just mentioned comparing ourselves to others. And,
but as you get older too, there are some things, there are some elements that you may get as you get older that may be more prone and the more mature.
True. But
age.
what I find that's interesting is that not one of those you mentioned when we talked about age.
No, but when I think about age, and then also too, there's things that you can do to help, slow that progression down of those elements, and those things you would do now to, of course, make it better for you at that time later on down the line. Memory and, so forth, those things come. Yeah. And so, I mean, that will go with age, but no, I did not say that.
We're going to cut it and snip it and tack it on to the last part, what you said.
In the end.
Right. We'll edit
full
this.
Circle.
We'll edit this.
No.
I think a fear I did have, when we took a poll of our friends, right? Before we had our first video here for YouTube or whatever platform we put this on, right? Is we asked them, what are you most fearful of? Age, loss, can be material or non-material, such as loss of life, loss of loved ones, loss of money
job,
loss of job security, whatever that means. And then we had lack of accomplishments, and then we had death, and then other. I feel one of mine I would tack on was other. Okay. And honestly, I think growing up, one of the fears that I struggled with as a kid was loneliness. So a part of this thing is just we need to be honest with each other and unwind these lines of thoughts and communicate and be honest with each other, whether it's in a relationship or whatnot. So I wanted to just share that with our guests to say, wow, that was one of the things I felt that weighed on me as I was younger, so, and I don't think loneliness is I don't want people to think oh, that means that I was afraid of being alone. Okay. Because I grew up as a single child, an only child. And so
even though surrounded by mother, family.
Yeah, I was surrounded by family, but I didn't have say a younger brother or sister with me. Right. Or older brother and sister with me when I was with my mother, so it's so I was alone, and I wasn't afraid of that actually. Okay. What I was afraid of is loneliness, which is you can be, I guess, how do I explain it? You can be alone.
You can be in a room full of people and still feel
lonely.
Yeah,
it's a feeling you feel like it's an unwanted solitude. Yeah. Or people leaving out of your life, or not just in death, but just not being, feeling welcomed or feeling, a part of something. And that's how I was fearful of that, so that was a deep fear of mine.
Yeah. Did that cause anxiety?
I don't know. I don't think, for me, I don't know if it, I don't know.
What about
I guess
depression?
I don't know how to explain whether it was anxiety. No, I don't think I was depressed. I feel like as a child, I just was more I observed more of myself. Okay. I questioned myself a little bit more. It gave me, being alone gave me more time to think and be by myself and wonder and observe the environment and observe my feelings about certain things. So I grew to be a little bit more, I guess, just thoughtful of why I was feeling the way I was feeling and questioned it. But that was one of those kind of things that it never kind of went away. Even though I knew, all right, well, I got my family and I got friends and I became pretty popular as a child, in terms of a high school and middle school kind of thing. But, so I don't know if that was imagined and that was just something that was deep within me.
Yeah.
Or who knows, maybe that was just wanting to be noticed in a certain kind of way, or wanting to be famous. Who knows? Not that I was. And then I realized as I got older, I don't really want to be famous. You know what I mean? I don't want the spotlight, but it still didn't, like, it still was something that kept coming back, that fear.
So even now, being married, also being, a father, also having family and friends and so forth, and now also being older, would you say that you have overcome that fear, or is that a fear that you still have?
Yeah. Oh, we're getting deep. Is this is this an intervention right now?
It's not an intervention.
No,
we're just unwinding these lines.
No, that's a great question. I mean, I never really thought about it in a while until obviously we're talking about it now, but I feel like being married, and obviously to an amazing woman that is very understanding and listens to me, and I listen to her, and we share our thoughts and be as open as we can. No, I don't think that fear has gone away.
Okay.
But I think I'm better able to manage it.
How?
Dang, you're trying to learn all my secrets, bro.
No, because I'm just saying that for those who may be watching, who may also be having thoughts of fear, and sometimes having those thoughts of fear can actually put you in a place of having anxiety, having depression, and making it take over, your life or your thought process to where it can become this place that you feel like you can't get out of.
Yes.
So if there is someone listening that's going through that, and you may have sort of brought yourself out of it in an extent, in what way, in the event that it can potentially help someone else?
All right, so I am no psychologist.
No, we are not claiming to be.
I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a
No, this is all opinionated, our perspective.
Psychiatrist, not a therapist or nothing.
We are not giving out.
So don't come and sue me if you don't get out of your anxiety and stuff, all right?
No, we are not giving out diagnosis and so forth and curing people. We are not.
But I think how I've dealt with it, I think as I got older, when I say older, I mean into like high school or something like that, I feel like I tried to face the fear by being very callous towards it. Like, just like, I don't care.
Okay.
If it does happen, I don't care.
Okay.
But I realized that didn't really answer the deep-rooted issue or whatever that's going on. And whether I found that out or what the deep issues, maybe not. But I feel like after like high school and college or whatever, I feel like I started to kind of really try to peel it back a bit and I just wanted to deal with it and just try to question myself. Why? That's really how I started to deal with it. Like, what am I really feeling right now? Why do I feel why do I feel this way?
Yeah.
And
self-reflection, and then taking that and breaking it down to more manageable things, or getting answers.
Just kind of trying to dig a little bit deeper and like, where is this fear coming from? And just pick at it a little bit, try to figure it out. And the more that I get closer to it, the more I kind of acknowledge it. I don't just throw it away. Like, I'm not afraid of that anymore. It's more of like, I acknowledge that it's there.
Right.
And I manage it by still kind of like a little bit of like, all right, I'm trying to understand you. Okay. I'm trying to understand this fear. And that makes me want to acknowledge it and to an extent respect it. Yeah. And just say, all right, until I figure this out, it's there and I have to deal with it. And I can have a conversation with my wife or whomever about it when I feel this kind of thing. If I feel it's going to bring any kind of anxiety, not that it does really. Like, for me, like, the anxiety is not really there like that unless it's like something dramatic is going on in my life, like death is happening. Yeah. Or like I'm fearful of I'm going to lose my wife to something. That's when, or my our child or whatever, that's when it kind of like will come out a little bit. Like, I worry about that, but I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, fear takes
just recognize it alone, I think, is a step towards managing it.
Yeah, and a step towards healing and a lot of things. When you're able to recognize it, self-reflect on it, that means that, you're acknowledging it, and then you want to take the steps to sort of, correct it or, make some changes and so forth. And so fear can take a lot of different shapes and forms. Fearful of a lot of things. I said before, fearful of success, which some people will be like, how can you be afraid to be successful? Doesn't everyone want to be successful? But there's things that comes with that.
So talk to me about that. You said that a couple of times.
Yes.
Fear of success.
Yes.
What do you mean by that for people that might be listening?
I mean, it's a conversation that we've had with each other at one point, especially with me turning to becoming an entrepreneur and taking on that new road for my career. That success was something that I was fearful of. And, you may say, well, how is that possible? And it's sort of like with success, you frame it to be or imagine it to be this specific way of life or think your thought process and the way in which you do things and how you act. And so you sort of try to figure out that successful people, you categorize them or box them into this, this area. And then you think about, okay, well, who am I? And I'm not successful yet. And in order for me to get there, what do I have to change or do differently to get to this point of success? And once I get there, how is that going to change me? How will I change? What am I going to do different? Am I going to act different? Am I going to be all bougie? I don't got time. Or, am I going to be more assertive, or if I'm going to be more short, and more aggressive, or, just not empathetic to people, like all these different things. And then what to do with it? Because with success, there may be some, I wouldn't necessarily say fame, but there may be, some privacy that's taken away, where I may be, known, or people may know who I am. And then what does that do for my family and so forth? And so it's just the impact of the success and not knowing what impact it's going to have on me and my family that I think I'm afraid of. And I'm, what do you do with this money? And how am I going to act when I get money? So I think that is something that I've always considered to be a fear of mine. But what I do want to ask, though, bringing it to more current times as to what's going on.
Before you do that.
Yeah.
So again, like, it's something that I'm always trying to.
You're hearing something else?
Yeah.
I'm saying something, but you're hearing something else.
And it could just be me.
Yeah. Okay.
So you said your fear, like, there can be a fear of success, right? Or lack thereof. But when you were talking about success, it sounds like you were more afraid of
me as a person. Yeah.
And yourself changing.
Yeah.
Not so much success.
Yeah, but with success, when you look at people that are successful, like if you're watching gurus and looking at these master classes, or when you're reading these books about here are the 10 steps to be successful, or this is the daily routine of every successful person, you know what I'm saying? When you look at those things, and that to you then becomes this perception of what success is or what it's supposed to look like. And so with that, if I'm not doing that, you would then say, if this, then that. If I am not doing those things, then I am not going to be successful. And so that means that a part of me has to change what I'm doing, how I think, or my actions, and so forth, in order for me to be successful. Because otherwise, I would just be successful as I am, right?
So what if I said, I already believe you're successful?
Then that would be relative.
Regardless of the money. Like, money, to me, money doesn't mean success.
That would be subjective. That's relative. What do you define success to be?
What if, I guess, so, all right, so not just what if I think you're successful. All right, for you, picture Sheena successful. Let's
No. I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about the mansion that I want and my Bugatti.
I already expected it, y'all.
No. I'm not talking about the Bugatti and the mansion and I'm having the house service and the chef.
We know you want the butler. We know you want the maids. We know you want the money and the cars and the big building.
Speak it.
Yes, but I mean, like,
no.
In addition to that. What are you afraid of if Sheena is successful?
I think that gets really personal, and I think that makes me have to dig deep into my personal being, thought
So there's
process.
just some stuff there.
But I
You're
think
just
that
kind of saying that there's some things maybe, success may like, I guess I think I'm starting to understand like success sometimes could bring about like, or highlight some of those things that maybe you're fearful of,
or find weaknesses,
yeah, and then you have to yourself attend to it first before you become successful.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so sorry I cut you off. You were about to say something.
I think we covered a lot tonight.
We did. You trying to wrap this up right now?
I think we should wrap it up. I mean, I think that we've covered a lot. I think that hopefully people have some things that, they can take back and think about, and hopefully maybe, we touched upon some things that are relatable to some people. But I would like to say that, fear is something that can be limiting. Yeah. Fear can limit your ability to grow. Fear can limit your ability to move to the next level, to elevate yourself, and to get you to a place that you want to be. It can literally hinder you, or it can literally put up roadblocks for you to move forward when you have fear, which then creates these limiting beliefs. And so I'm not saying that we should just go around and be fearless, because for some that may be impossible to be. But we should probably just be cognizant of what's causing the fear, and then how is it that we can change our thought process or the perception of it so that it's not preventing us from moving forward or living our best life. Yeah. So
I'll add to that. I've heard this before, but I did write it down, and it says that fear, if you were to turn it into an acronym, fear is the false evidence appearing real. So I think that kind of goes back towards that definition, real or imagined, right? There are real things that we should be fearful of.
Right, okay.
For our survival, for our longevity and whatnot. But I think it's important to know when they're imagined.
And when we're putting them there.
Or when we are, when we are like, our thought process is putting something there or amplifying something that's more than what it really is. And it's hard to kind of decipher that sometimes, but, it's important to do that. Some thoughts about that. I'll share some of my thoughts is that, fear, it's a level of uncertainty, and, it sometimes will create some anxiety. But if you can push through it or just kind of figure out why, that would be my thought, is like, understand why are you afraid of that thing, or what's causing this fear, and try to really reflect on it and dig a little deep and peel it back. Because I think once you start to figure out the root cause of that fear, then you can acknowledge it. Yeah. And then you can try to manage it as best you can and see if this is a real threat to you or not. And then work from there. Yeah. Just acknowledge the fear. Yeah. And ask yourself why.
And if possible, talk to someone about it.
I think that's a huge point too.
They may be able to give you some insight or a different perspective, a different take on it. And maybe just talking about it out loud would also help you realize and recognize some things as to what's causing that fear to begin with. So
Right.
Yeah.
And sorry, last thing. You can't control the uncontrollables. Right. So, whether this is the environment, what's going on with the COVID-19, or whether that's, if you're fearful of death, it is a must. Everyone will die. Yeah. We don't want folks that we love or ourselves to die, but it is inevitable. We can't control that. So why fret over it? Why fear it?
It's true.
Understand that it's a natural course. Yeah, life, yeah. Aging, it's an inevitable. Well, it's not inevitable. You can die young, but if your life is spared, you will age. But understand what that aging what part of that aging is making you fearful.
Yeah.
And hopefully you can deal with it.
Yeah.
The things you can control it. You know, and have less fear there too. But
yeah. I like it.
You like it?
I like it.
I like it. I like it.
Well,
I hope this was we hope this was helpful to you guys, and just having a conversation about fear and hopefully how to deal with it. And it is important and it is necessary in moderation, essentially.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts you want to share?
No, I make lemonade, margaritas, whatever you want out of those lemons, but just don't be afraid to make something. And you never know what it'll turn out to be. So, all right, I guess that's a wrap.
I think so. Well, thank you guys for joining us. We hope you found benefit from the conversation as much as we did.
Yes, and if you like this video, please make sure to give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to share it and leave a comment below and let us know what it is that you fear most. Thank you so much for watching.
And that's a wrap.